Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is the city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Good day, Cavs fans, and welcome to another edition of the Block the Shot to Stop. Here with an old friend, Zac NBA. I am Kevin Lynch. Zach, I texted you about an hour ago and asked if you wanted to do a podcast, and you made yourself available. So first and foremost, thank you. And second of all, how we doing, bud?
Doing all right. I'm always glad to get the bullpen call. It was a little shorter notice than I was expecting for my evening to go, but hey.
It was. We had a lot of conflicts. Obviously, Tim and Skylar aren't here. For anybody who doesn't know, they both cover the Cincinnati Reds on different platforms, and the Reds have a little intense end of the season here, so they are otherwise committed for this week. But then I'll be back next week. So, Zach, first and foremost, we text all the time, but we haven't had any other podcasts in a long time. How are you feeling for the upcoming Cavs season? Believe it or not, we're going to have basketball here in just a few weeks.
You know, I was actually shameless name drop. I was just talking to Bob from Fear the Fro yesterday. Yeah. We were messaging back and forth about this, and I kind of told him that I feel like I'm almost a little bit wet blankety about my feelings of the upcoming Cavs season. Apparently, I'm not alone though, based off of his listener and audience and the sentiment that he's getting there. But yeah, a couple of things that are kind of coming to me as I start to prepare for the season. Because truth be told, this offseason has been there's been like nothing
right
really that has been worth digging into all that much. And so I'm sort of just starting my prep for the season now. And a couple of things that are kind of immediately standing out to me at this very moment is, one, I think that last year was probably a little bit of fool's gold in the regular season for this Cavs team. 64 wins is crazy and it's likely to be an outlier. It's not going to be replicable, I don't think, nor do I think it'll be the priority. You know, I think that they're probably going to take the approach of, you know, we just want to make sure that we're healthy and that we're right for the playoffs, and we want to prove that we can win in the playoffs. And so while the East is going to be so incredibly god-awfully bad at the bottom, they're going to trip and fall out of bed and find their way to 50 wins.
Right.
But I think it's probably more like a 58 win, maybe second seed in the East type of a season that we're about to endure. Because I think at the same time, the Knicks might be in a position where they're actually trying to like prove that they're the best or whatever. And so they may be pushing in ways that the Cavs aren't in the regular season. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I am not particularly thrilled with the offseason moves that were made. There were limited options based off of the financial situation. And I think that the hypothetical basketball fits all make a lot of sense. But we took a team whose biggest excuse for postseason lack, I guess you could say, of postseason success or earlier than desired postseason exits being, well, you know, we just weren't healthy. We couldn't have all our guys healthy.
Right.
And we put a bunch of dudes on the team that look good on paper,
right,
but are never healthy together.
Yeah.
And that I don't feel great about that, to be honest with you. I don't the tea leaves are not shaping up the way that I'm most optimistic about, I guess.
Yeah.
But I still think it's going to be incredibly fun to watch the Cavs play basketball. And that's really all I give a crap about at the end of the day. So there you go.
I share a lot of those sentiments. I Agree. There was only so many options, but I think the options that the Cavs did have, I didn't love. Like, being honest, I would rather have Ty Jerome and Ezra Okoro than Sam Merrill and Lonzo Ball. That's just and those were the real options that they had. I also think nothing they did this offseason solved for the biggest problem they had in the playoffs last year. And that's just, handling pressure and having excellent perimeter defense. I mean, you could argue the 4 teams had the best perimeter defense are the teams that made it to the semifinals last year. It stands Boston, who had their own injuries and everything. But yeah, I agree with you. But at the same time, it's a little bit of first world problems because, as you said, the Cavs should, barring anything unforeseen, be a top 2 team and have somewhere in the range of mid 50s or higher wins. And that's a good floor to have. So I think, we just enjoy that and monitor the progress to being a better performing team in the playoffs. And I think that's all we can do. And kind of with that in line, we had an episode, the idea I had that I'm glad you were here because I think you'll be good at this. Just some bold predictions for the season, like things, I would say aren't likely or aren't super likely to happen, but I'm going to throw them at you and you tell me how likely they think you are and you think they are. And then maybe an idea you have for like something that, maybe that's not possible, but this would be possible instead. And all right, so you ready to go? Can I just start rapid firing them at you?
I guess.
All right.
Just for the record, though, you're the one that said I would be good at this, not me. Not me.
Well, the first 2, I'll separate them, but they both involve Evan Mobley because I think a lot of us will agree the Cavs reaching their ultimate heights. The biggest factor in that is going to be Evan Mobley developing into one of the best players in the NBA to continue the ascension that he had last year. And so the first one I have is bold prediction: Evan Mobley repeats as Defensive Player of the Year.
10% chance.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think Wemby has already won this award. I think he had already won it last year before the season even started. I think that if the only opportunity anybody else has is if Wemby doesn't meet 65 games, which truthfully, I don't think is even all that likely that he does personally. Like I have a lot of Wemby health concerns, particularly coming off of like the blood clot issue that he just had. Like that, I think for whatever reason, we've decided that that's just not a big deal at all. And a 7'5" like guy that's supposed to be in one of the most athletic professional sports on planet Earth, just blood clot. Nah, that's not. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's sprained ankle. It's totally not a big deal. So I'm worried about his ability to hold up for 65 games a year or whatever. But if he does, it's his award. And if he doesn't, I think there's likely to be some kind of a push for somebody in like Oklahoma City to get this recognition based off of how like dominant their team was defensively last year. And it's so much a narrative award that I don't know that Evan Mobley is going to have the cachet, I guess you could say, to get the voters excited about voting for him in back-to-back seasons if it comes in a situation where ultimately it's because Wemby didn't make the minimum game threshold. Like, I think they'll try to find some other something to push. Granted, he could come out and be a ridiculous dominant force and be the KG 2.0 that some predicted on draft night and make me look like an idiot, and I would be super happy about it. But if you're asking me my expectation that that's going to take place, it'd be very low.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Wemby's defensive impact is very real. I mean, a lot of things are overhyped, but I think it's real. I think he was deserving of Defensive Player of the Year last year if he would have met the game threshold. That said, I also think this is a low probability. I probably would have gone a little bit higher than you, 15, 20%, something like that. Just because of the impact of Wemby possibly having an injury. As you said, I work in healthcare and I've done procedures to resolve blood clots before. That's a long vein to have clots in. And so I agree with you that I think it's a little bit undersold, his problems there. I think if I made this question, will Evan Mobley finish top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year? I'd put a very high rating on that because I think, or a high percentage of that. But I agree with you narrative wise. If it's not Wemby, I think you saw kind of a swelling of a push last year to like, reward someone who's a non-center, Dyson Daniels, Lou Dort, guys like that. So I think if for any reason Wemby, doesn't meet the criteria this year, that momentum might be even bigger. But yeah, I think that's not to say I think Evan Mobley is an excellent defensive player. I think he'll continue to be an excellent defensive player. I just kind of think this award might be an unlikely one to repeat as. All right, moving right along. Another, like I told you, another Evan Mobley one that I personally like better. Evan Mobley finishes top 5 in MVP voting.
I don't think that happens either. I do think he's first team all defense.
Okay.
I want to make that a thing. And I think he's, I like him as like third team all NBA.
Okay.
He's going to have to not only make a ridiculous leap on the offensive end in order to get like MVP consideration, but it's going to have to be so obvious that he is doing so and like taking over from Donovan Mitchell, who was just top 5 or 6, but what did he finish? 5th or 6th last year in MVP voting? Like he kind of has that problem that Donovan Mitchell is on his team. And so his ascension beyond what he already is capable of doing, like, is going to have to be that much higher because it's still going to be seen as Donovan Mitchell's team.
Yeah.
And how can you be MVP if you're on somebody else's team?
So I did a little bit of work on this. I think it's a little bit more likely than you, and I'm the optimist on this podcast, which is such a rarity. But so I actually looked at the top guys in the league and looked at like their like not only the players they are, but the situations they are. Because if you're top 5 in MVP voting, you're on a top seed also, usually, right? Like a top 4 seed in one of the conferences. So I think Evan Mobley is the 7th most likely player to be top 5 in MVP voting, if that makes sense. And the top 5 are a lot of people you'd guess: Joker, SGA, Giannis, Luka, and then I'd put Anthony Edwards and Wemby slightly above him. And then I think he is a 7th most likely guy. Once you combine not only their play, but also, like you talked about, narrative. Like if he continues in ascension, if he, improves his offensive output by say 20%, continues to be a top level defensive player. And then a couple of those top guys either don't meet expectations, get injured, don't meet 65 games. I think this is like a little bit more likely. I'd say like 30 to 40%. Cause I think if the Cavs are going to have a first team all NBA guy this year, I think it's going to be Evan Mobley and not Donovan Mitchell. That's just my opinion on it. But anyway, like I don't know. Any other thoughts on Evan Mobley for MVP before we move on to non-Evan Mobley topics?
I think the one potential avenue that could be there is, again, if they are trying to be right for the playoffs as opposed to really go for it in a regular season, like they could sit Mitchell more.
Yeah.
Do a little bit more load management with him. We don't know yet how soon Darius Garland is going to be available. So if he were to take more of like that offensive hub type of a role that they're saying that he could, and that he did at times last season kind of have, but kind of when things came down to it, it was give Donovan Mitchell the ball. Right. And I have a hard time believing that for as long as Donovan Mitchell plays on this basketball team, that's not going to be their bailout plan.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't think that Evan Mobley wins MVP if that's your bailout plan. He needs to be your bailout plan if he's going to win MVP.
Yeah. I mean, my one counter to that is I think everyone in the Cavs organization, Kobe Altman, Kenny Atkinson, the players, Donovan Mitchell knows this. Like, if the Cavs are going to play for a championship this year, Evan Mobley has to continue ascending and he has to become the overall best player on the team and everything. And so I think the number one goal in the organization is to help Evan Mobley reach his full potential. And that's why I think this is probably a little bit more likely. I think he will finish top 5 in MVP voting at some point in the next few years. Next year or this coming season might be a little early, but I see it happening. I really do. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. I got a couple others here. Like we can probably take a little bit less time on, and then I have a good one at the end. I want to surprise you with. I put like Sam Merrill. Let's just say Sam Merrill is top 5 in the NBA in 3-point percentage. And just to set that up, I think everybody knows like Sam Merrill has the best looking 3-point shot and is in some ways the best 3-point shooter on the Cavs. But his percentage was actually like league average last year. A lot of that was he started out the season kind of slow. And I'm expecting a big rebound from him as far as like percent. I expect him in the low to mid 40s. You have to get close to the mid 40s to, be top of the NBA. But what do you think about Sam Merrill being one of the top percentage 3-point shooters in the NBA?
Do you want to keep being Mr. Optimistic on this podcast? Because I'm very much thinking that is not going to be a thing.
Okay.
I'm not the biggest Sam Merrill guy.
Mm-hmm.
In truth be told, I'm in the camp that if you're splitting that, but like the contract up, I would have preferred to have Ty Jerome on it than Sam Merrill on it. Ty Jerome shot a better percentage from 3 than Sam Merrill did.
Yep.
I think that he has gravity.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is respected as a shooter, but I don't think that he has shown at least to me, that like top of the league is possible. He shot like 40%. And then, like you said, like league average last year. I can't remember what it was, like 36 or something like that.
He was just over league average. I think he was like at 37 to 38, and league average is about 36 now.
Yeah, I remember doing a video at one point in time where I was like, the Cavs are leading the NBA in 3-point shooting. They're hitting all these above the break threes, and ironically enough, their best 3-point shooter can't hit anything.
Right. Yeah.
And I was talking about Sam Merrill, and I don't know. I think maybe he just kind of is who he is at that like 38 to 40% and is respected as a shooter. And what he brings is movement and a threat of, shooting on the move as opposed to, off the dribble or standstill.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know that the guy can hit 45% at high volume.
Yeah.
For this team. I don't know. I just don't really see it.
Doesn't
mean I hate him.
Yeah.
But
I don't think this is likely just because it's be such a hard thing to do because 3-point shooting is so emphasized in the NBA and there's so many great shooters. That said, I think Sam Merrill has one of the smoothest looking jump shots in the NBA. I think if you compare form side by side, he looks a whole lot like Ray Allen form wise. But that said,
interesting comp I never would have come up with. Yeah. But okay.
Okay. I'm telling you, YouTube it afterward. But I think there is a world of opportunity for Sam Merrill this year. I think with Garland and Strus being out to start the year, no Ty Jerome, I think there's a high probability he starts, and whether he starts or not, I think there's a high probability he's getting 25 plus minutes a game. I expect Donovan Mitchell to really shift into a playmaker role at the beginning of the year without Garland. I expect Evan Mobley to really increase his playmaking and time with the ball in his hand. And I think there will be plenty of opportunities for Sam Merrill to earn that contract that he's getting, whether he does or not. As far as being an elite 3-point shooter, time will tell. But I think the opportunity is there. I think he has I think he's in a right situation. I think he has the ability. You're right. At this point, we got to see it. Like, you got to see the percentage kind of match what I think is almost flawless jump shot form.
Yeah. I'll be happy about it if it happens. But
I would too. All right. So other ones, I wrote down a couple of these, but one of the kind of under the radar key players, I think one of the biggest key players for the Cavs this year is Jaylon Tyson, because Jaylon Tyson has the ability to do some of the things that no one else on the Cavs roster has been able to do defensively, energy wise, and so I expect him to have a bigger role than other people this year. And so I wrote down like Jaylon Tyson starts 20 plus games. I wrote down Jaylon Tyson ends up in the top 7 for minutes per game with the Cavs. Like, take either one of you want, or just something general on Jaylon Tyson. Like, what do you think about kind of a bold prediction centered around him this year?
I don't think either of those things are it, but I do think that there is a pathway for him. I think that he could fill into kind of the Max Strus role post DeAndre Hunter trade, where we started to see Max Strus play more of like almost more like a slashing, sometimes even playing like the stretch 4 role unexpectedly. I think Jaylon Tyson could play in that sort of a role for them. He's definitely I love the fact that he will hit the boards from the perimeter, and that's something that they desperately need, is somebody that'll do that kind of dirty work, the Josh Hart-ish type of hustle from that spot. I just don't know that there's going to be a ton of volume of opportunity for him. I think it's going to be in stretches or in like small spurts. Like, I think he's going to be an opportunistic type of a play, and he's going to be one of those dudes that I wish he could see the floor more.
Yeah.
I wish he could just get more minutes.
Yeah.
But then you start going down. You're like, do you really want to play him over DeAndre Hunter? No. Do you really want to play him over like Max Strus when he gets back? No. Do you really want to play him over Sam Merrill for his shooting? No. Do you really want to play him over anyone in the core forward? No. Do you really want to play? And then you're like, oh, no wonder he can't see the floor more. But I don't think it's inconceivable that a Dean Wade falls out of favor a little bit, or has an injury or something, and all of a sudden Jaylon Tyson starts popping up in Dean Wade minutes. While I hope that that's not the case personally, because I think Dean Wade brings something to that this team is going to need, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a, potentially a almost like a yin and yang between those two guys of like who's going to provide that junk it up hustle minutes, I don't remember if I can cuss on this podcast, bust your butt on defense, and hit the boards and take a shot. Not even just hit a shot, take a shot. For the love of God, take the shot, because Dean Wade won't a lot of times.
It's true. One of the first things you said, I agree with. Like, Jaylon Tyson will be, there'll be opportunity for him this year. Like, it might not be consistent or whatever, but I think that opportunity is going to come at the beginning of the year with no Max Strus, no Darius Garland. While he's not the greatest ball handler in the world, he is a better ball handler than a lot of the other guys who will be in the rotation to start the season. I think he's a better ball handler than Sam Merrill, than DeAndre Hunter, than Dean Wade. And so I think like they're going to be so short on ball handling, especially if, Lonzo Ball, gets hurt as he typically does. So I actually think there could be a lot of opportunity. I think we'll know what kind of opportunity Jaylon Tyson will get in the first 20 games of the year for the whole season. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity those first 20 games. And if he takes advantage of it by showing, as you said, a little bit more expansion of his offensive game and kind of continues to develop as a really, above average to even better perimeter defender, I think he's a guy who could end up seeing 20 minutes a game just because he brings things that are missing from this Cavs roster, and were blatantly missing in that Pacers series last year.
Maybe the answer to the question is, how many back-to-backs are there going to be before Darius Garland comes back?
Yeah.
And how many back-to-backs will there be before Max Strus comes back?
Yeah.
And when they're both out,
yep,
he'll have lots of opportunities then. And when Garland is back and Strus is out, maybe he earns some of those opportunities. But we're just gonna have to see, right? Like he's a young guy. He hasn't proven it yet. A lot of him is hypothetical. And the Cavs are in a position right now where a lot of their dudes are not hypothetical. You know what they're gonna get, and they are good. And they're trying to be good. So sometimes the young guys, they just got to take advantage of spot minutes, and we'll just see what he does with them.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the other things, and this is my anti-optimism showing, but like, you know, they're obviously short Garland and Strus to start the year, and 3 of the guys that you would expect to be in their 9-10 man rotation are pretty injury prone in Lonzo Ball, DeAndre Hunter, and Dean Wade.
Just 3?
Yeah, I mean, those 3 in particular. And so I would say, like, who's to say one or more of those guys or somebody else also gets injured, and the Cavs get to a point where they don't really have a choice but to play a Jaylon Tyson 20 minutes a game, at least for stretches. So I'm high on Jaylon Tyson. I'm going against my own advice I give people, is never take anything out of summer league, but I thought he looked really good in summer league, just looked more confident with the ball and everything. So this is the one I feel best about so far. Not particularly even the ones I said, but just that Jaylon Tyson will have a bigger impact than most people would expect for the Cavs this year. I truly do believe that.
Well, if he does, then that's good news for the Cavs.
Yeah, agreed. All right, I got 2 more. The one other one you know about, you know, I don't want to get into overly speculating and throw out particular like players or anything, but I wrote down Cavs make one of the biggest trades at the midseason deadline, or trades, in-season trades in the NBA this year. What do you think the probability is that the Cavs make? And when I say bigger trade, I mean trading for somebody at DeAndre Hunter's caliber or higher, someone who's going to start. You know, there obviously would be trading out somebody in the rotation to make that happen, or multiple people in the rotation. So what do you think the probability of the Cavs making one of the bigger mid-season or in-season trades in the NBA this year?
I think it's very, very unlikely. And I think it's very, very unlikely, particularly if you look at Media Day and Kobe Altman's comments about his belief in the core 4. He frames them as very young, and, you know, talks about having 3 All-Stars last year and how good, Jared Allen is, and all of this stuff, that I don't think that he has any appetite at all to trade one of the core 4, particularly in the middle of the season. And if you don't, then the blockbuster type deal that you're talking about does not happen, because they don't have, like, they can't, under the second apron rules, there's not another way to do it. One of the core 4's got to go. Like, and as much as I like DeAndre Hunter, he's not the caliber of, like, single trade asset, because they can't aggregate to bring in a better player than him, like, in that type of a swap. Now, granted, if let's say DeAndre Hunter has, like, a season-ending injury and they need to, like, use his contract to make a trade for a guy, and somehow that turns into something like, okay, maybe, like, that's some kind of a hypothetical world where something like that happens. I don't think that Kobe Altman has any appetite at all to trade one of the core 4.
I agree with that. I think you can make impact. So first of all, the whole second apron thing, everyone says that, like, it makes things more complicated, but everyone said that about last year, and they set a record for most midseason trades, despite, you know, the second apron things. There was the most midseason trades in NBA history, or in-season trades in NBA history last year. So there's ways to do it. You just need to bring in a third team, you know, get more creative and everything. And they have enough guys that are making. Sorry, go ahead.
Real quick before you go, because I see you're going to try to capsplain me. And what I mean is because the Cavs cannot aggregate salaries on their end,
Right.
that it's got to be one of the guys that makes enough money to bring in somebody that is big enough who also makes a lot of money to have the caliber of trade that you're talking about. And that opportunity only comes if they trade one of the core four, because they have the core four salaries and DeAndre Hunter money. And then they've got a bunch of make no money guys. Like there's not a, because they can't cobble together their Lonzo Ball size contracts. Like they can't do a Lonzo Ball plus Dean Wade plus like, I don't know, give me a random salary for Sam Merrill,
Yeah.
like to cobble together $25 million for a trade. Like they can't do that on their side.
Mhm.
So they've got to do one of the guys that make a lot of money if they're going to get back the caliber of player that makes a lot of money. And if Kobe Altman, again, I just get the sense he doesn't want to trade one of the core four in the middle of the season. That literally leaves DeAndre Hunter. How much can you get for DeAndre Hunter to make the type of splash that you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
We would see. And just so I'm not sure if you're aware of this, DeAndre Hunter actually makes more money than Jared Allen this season. That will change next season. But this coming season, DeAndre Hunter's at like 23.5 mil and JA is still at 20 million flat. And then Strus is the other one who's like 16 mil. There's ways. I think there could be possibilities. I think this is unlikely because I agree, for the biggest reason is you said it. The Cavs have stuck to, we like this team as is, especially the big four, blah, blah, blah. I wonder, combination of the recent playoff woes, especially last year, and then depending on how things look like they're shaping up this season come the deadline, do they say we have to get more athletic for perimeter defense and we have to figure out a way to do it?
I mean, if you really want to like do the elephant in the room thing here, to make the splash that you're talking about, are they willing to trade Darius Garland at the trade deadline? And I think the answer to that question is going to be no. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. I guess maybe I'm talking about a level below that. Like there's trades you could do with kind of the money, I'd say underneath the top three guys, like as far as salary guys. I'm talking like, could you trade a DeAndre Hunter for Aaron Nesmith? Because the Pacers are punting on this year and he's like going to be on the last day.
Well, we have very different definitions of what you mean by the biggest mid-season trade of the season.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
give me Aaron Nesmith.
No, I guess, yeah, maybe we are thinking about it a little bit differently. Or I was thinking about like, would OKC want someone controllable for Lou Dort because he's expiring and they've pretty much shown that they don't want to pay anybody outside the big three long term if they don't have to.
I still don't think it's particularly likely, but that's definitely not what I was thinking. Yeah. I'm thinking Desmond Bane got, got 4 first-round picks or whatever he got in return, and Kevin Durant just got traded this offseason.
I should have worded this as: will the Cavs make a big trade to fill gaps in their roster? And the biggest gap in their roster has been for several years, and it's really stood out last year, is athleticism in the perimeter, particularly on defense and on offense. I mean, the Pacers, I've said it a million times on here, Nembhard and Nesmith dominated the Pacers series. As good as Halliburton was and Siakam was, the fact that Nesmith and Nembhard controlled the series with their defense and with their athleticism. I'm sticking to that. And I think that the Cavs are just as vulnerable for that to happen this season as they were last season.
If not worse, to be honest, if we're honest, with a guy like Ty Jerome out and bringing in, a kind of unknown quantity in Alonzo Ball. I mean, he, again, on paper, he fits that need perfectly.
Right.
but he's always been on paper.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
not nearly enough on the court for it to feel reliable. I don't think it's insane. I think that they have shown that they are willing to make a deal. I just don't think that they don't have a ton that they can trade out to make that like difference making thing to actually bring back something better
Right.
than what they would be doling out. And I put the likelihood low.
Yeah.
Even in the context of like just to make them better. Like I think they could do something. I don't know. Maybe Strus has a setback and they do a Rubio deal where they trade him because of his salary and he's not healthy and find a way to bring somebody in that can even play minutes like that. Yeah, that kind of thing is absolutely possible. Definitely not how I interpreted your question.
No. It's all good. All right. I know we're running over. So last one, but I have to ask this one and I need optimism out of you. I don't need it, but I'm going to pretend you're optimistic no matter what.
I am optimistic, but some of these are crazy.
I love this one. And I think it's the most possible of any of them. So my bold take for this year that I've been working on for a while is Naquan Tomlin will turn Larry Nance Jr. into Tristan Thompson. Basically meaning Naquan Tomlin will be the third big on the Cavs roster. We'll see meaningful minutes play, maybe not game one of the season, but by some point in the season, he'll be in the regular rotation, getting 15 plus minutes and be a real contributor to the Cavs this year. And frankly, taking the minutes that we thought were going to go to Larry Nance Jr.
Do you still feel that way after Thomas Bryant?
Yeah, I couldn't be less optimistic about the Thomas Bryant signing. I didn't understand that. I don't think he got played off the floor in the playoffs. I would have much rather them take a shot on a wing or something than Thomas Bryant. I don't see him really factoring into the season. I'm putting Thomas Bryant below both of these guys as far as rotation goes.
Well, I asked that because the immediate thing that came to my head was the pathway for that to happen for Naquan Tom. It would be like Larry Nance Jr. gets hurt, Naquan fills in, does well, and Larry Nance takes kind of like a backseat vet role because he played really, really well. And he's like, no, ride the kid because he's crushing it.
Right.
That would be the pathway I could see that happening. However, with the Thomas Bryant news, I think that just adds one more barrier to entry for Tomlin to get those minutes in the first place.
Yeah.
Even if Nance were to go down, I think it would be Thomas Bryant first that would fill in those shoes to whatever degree that he's going to, at least because they've got other dudes that can play 4 minutes and Bryant can jump into 5 minutes in that way. So it's not, so while he's not plug and play Larry Nance, because I think Larry Nance, one of his most valuable things is that he is versatile between the 4 and the 5 for them in kind of some of the flexible lineups they might want to throw out there with him in a way that Thomas Bryant's not going to be, but Thomas Bryant can jump in at the 5 while somebody else goes to the 4. Yeah. And I don't know. I think that makes it significantly harder for Naquan to get that first opportunity to prove himself to then keep Larry Nance on the bench if he got it.
I certainly hope he gets a shot. And this is kind of a bold take off my bold take, but I don't think he's nearly as good a player at this moment, but I actually think Naquan Tomlin's game fits better with Evan Mobley than any of the other bigs. And that includes Jared Allen, because he can space the floor. He can offensive rebound. He can guard both the 4 and the 5. He's just he's not as good, but he's certainly more versatile than I think any of the other bigs. And I think if you want to give Evan Mobley room to grow and in certain matchups, let him play the 5, you could play Naquan Tomlin with him. And Naquan is much more athletic and versatile than the other big guys. And so that's maybe the main reason that I hope he does get a shot, because again, going back to our first point, the number one most important thing in this Cavs organization is to support Evan Mobley's ascension to his highest potential. And that includes playing different players with him with different skill sets to see what fits the best, and not just continuing to try and fit a, whatever shape you have rod into a square peg, or what, pegged into a hole, whatever, the expression. But I think Tomlin's game, who knows if he'll develop as well as, and I see the potential for him to, but I think he would fit with Evan Mobley, at least in limited minutes, really, really well, and give Evan more opportunities to use his versatility.
I think that I don't think that what you just said is crazy at all, as in terms of his fit,
first one,
his potential fit with Evan Mobley in particular. But I would say it's very similar to Jaylon Tyson, and even more so of like getting the consistent opportunity to even do it. Like, that's going to be the hard part,
right?
Because I mean, if you asked me between those two things that you were talking about, Naquan Tomlin or Jaylon Tyson getting some kind of ascension in opportunity and thing like that, like I would put my money on Jaylon Tyson.
I 100%.
And I think that's going to be difficult,
right,
to have happen. So
yeah,
but in terms of just looking at the fit between Evan Mobley and Tom, like I think you're on to something there. I just don't know that it's a this year thing.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, if anybody like me didn't really know Naquan Tomlin's story, or actually I knew who he was in college, but didn't realize it was the same guy when he came to the Cavs, and he was at Kansas State, and he was a huge part of them going to, I believe, the Elite Eight one year, and then he had some off the court stuff and got kicked off the team, and basically missed the season of college basketball, and bumped kind of went around and found himself on the charge. But he's always had a lot of talent. He's just had a very unstraight path to where he is now. And I have heard a couple of Kenny Atkinson interviews about him, and it seems like he genuinely really likes Tomlin and as a player. And so I think the opportunity could be there. And I guess I'm curious enough about his skill set and how it fits in with not only Evan Mobley, but the rest of the roster, that I want to see it, especially because, like you said earlier, they could fall out of bed and be a top 2 seed. Why not use that to your advantage and experiment more in the regular season and see if you don't, strike oil with one of these guys that maybe you weren't planning to be as much in the rotation as they may end up being.
Yeah, I just don't know that this is that's what they would spend their time doing their experimentation on, to be honest with you. Like, I think this is a team that is trying to prove that they are championship contenders.
Yeah.
And their experimentation is going to be, how do we have our best playoff process in place for the playoffs? And like, how do we treat these regular season games? Not like they're do or die right now, but like we're making sure that what we're going to be doing in the playoffs is as tight as possible. And what they're going to be doing in the playoffs is not going to be playing Naquan Tomlin like bulk minutes. Well, more than likely.
if nothing else, if I'm right about this, I'm going to take multiple victory laps.
You should.
I haven't heard anybody else say. All right. Well, Zach, I told you we'd cap it at 30 minutes. Or at 43, so I'll get you.
I wouldn't shut up.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I truly meant we'll cap it at 30 minutes, and then as soon as I start recording, I'm like, we're going over. But really appreciate you being here, buddy, especially on late notice. We're for sure gonna have you pop on throughout the year. I know you no longer in the sports content game, but I know you have a ton of knowledge, and we'd love to have you spit it out here instead, and give you a platform to when you're kind of over brimming with takes and you need to get
there will be some sports content. It just won't be there's not going to be the podcast that I was doing before. There will be some sports content out there, some short form for sure. Maybe some videos like I was doing kind of originally. But yeah, it'll kind of go back to that mold probably, and probably less frequently. I'm probably not going to be posting daily like I was before, but yeah, there will be some stuff out there, and I do plan on doing stuff like this when when the opportunities arise. There just won't be a regular podcast long form stuff getting churned out.
Yeah, life happens, my man. I get it. Well, when you do get stuff up, we'll certainly share it on socials. I know a lot of our listeners like it when you come on and guest host with us. So we'll make sure we get you connected to our audience once the season starts and we actually have real stuff to talk about instead of just making up theoretical bold predictions. So again, for Zach, for my missing partners, Skylar and Tim, go Reds on your behalf.
Noelvi Marte is the GOAT.
Yeah. By the time this comes out, the Reds regular season will be over. So retrospectively, go Reds for this weekend. So anyway, for all these guys, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, we would love you to subscribe, rate us on it wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube. And then we have a big announcement we'll probably announce in the next week or two about an additional platform we're going to be on this season. So I'll just kind of tease that, and we'll hold it for probably like the first week of October. We'll put that out there and get everybody let everybody know where else they can find us. So thanks again for listening, Cavs fans, and as always, go Cavs.